This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Nick Tulloch, the CEO of Voyager Life, listed on the Aquis Exchange with the ticker VOY. Well, it's very good to be talking to you today, Nick, for the first time. Welcome onto Stockbox. How are you?
Well, thank you, Mark. It's good to be here as well, and I'm very well too, and hopefully you are as well.
Good. No, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for your time. I wonder if you can start us off by perhaps just introducing the company, giving us perhaps the high-level overview or the elevator pitch, if you like.
Sure. Well, Voyager is coming up to 3 years old. We're based in Perth, in Scotland. We often get accused of being in Perth, Australia, but I'm afraid the weather is not quite as good where we are. We have a few aspects to our business. We manufacture CBD and other plant-based products. We have two of our own brands, one called Voyager, which is where we began, and the second called Ascend Skincare. The difference between the two is Voyager, I would say, is more about health and wellness. Ascend is aimed more at the beauty market. Both made by us, both made of very similar ingredients, but slightly different target audience. We have three of our own shops. They're all nearby, Dundee, St Andrews and Edinburgh. We sell through other people's stores. We sell through other people's online stores. So you can find us on Amazon and Etsy and eBay, for example. But the fastest growing part of our business is actually making products for other people. And so often someone might say to me, well, I've seen your products. And the answer might be, well, you probably have seen them, but they may be labeled a different brand, but they're still made by us.
Okay. So give me an idea of what products you have then and what people might buy them for. What are they aiming to treat?
Well, the core part of our business is CBD. We're very much a CBD and hemp company. And if you walk past one of our shops, it'll have a sign outside saying plant-based health and wellness. So we do believe that there is a wider application for plant-based supplements across the health and wellness industry. But CBD and hemp is our core part of the business. We have 72 formulated products across our two brands. Where we began, and I think where most people begin their CBD experiment or CBD journey, is CBD oils. I mean, just to give you an idea, I mean, our CBD oils look like that. They come in three strengths and three flavors. Now, we're not selling a pharmaceutical product, so we can't make medical claims. But you can Google CBD and you'll discover that it's suitable for anxiety, for sleep, for pain. There's a number of different applications. And it works within the body by stimulating essentially the body's own defenses. Alongside oils, we sell other edible products such as gummies and soft gels. Soft gel looks a little bit like a cod liver oil capsule. But the main part of the business is skincare and topical products. And we think we can differentiate ourselves more on the topical side, where there's opportunities to add a much wider range of ingredients to make the product unique and different to other products you might find elsewhere on the shelves. And so the core part of the business really for the last couple of years has been about skincare and topical products, and the vast majority of our 72 products are in that category.
Okay. And you don't need any kind of licensing to produce these products. It's all absolutely license free, is it?
Yeah, everything we do is completely legal. I often say to people, we're selling these cannabis products, which is essentially what they are. We're selling them under the cover of broad daylight on high streets in up and down the country. So there's no license required to deal in the product. We do require licenses or accreditations within the laboratory. We are handling food products, we're handling cosmetic products. So we do get inspected by local authorities, and we make sure we comply with all of their requirements, and also adhere to certain levels of industry requirement as well in terms of the operations in the lab. But in terms of do we need a home office license or do we get police inspected? No, it's not that type of business. Okay. We take out any of the psychoactive components from the plant, so we don't use anything involving THC at all, which is the controlled substance. CBD in its purest form is actually not controlled.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. And how long has the business been established for? It's not that old, is it?
It's not. The company was formed on the 12th of November 2020, so sort of in that sort of first year of lockdown. In the run up to that, I've been working with a few of our now investors and also our chairman in the development of the company. So I think the website, voyagercbd.com, was registered in August of that year. But we only really got going with our sort of first investors and our first office, our first member of staff in November 2020. And during that first year, we sold online, as really everyone does these days. We also set up 3 of our own stores. And at the end of that first year, we acquired a business out of administration, which became the beginning of our manufacturing capability. And that's the part of the business that has really grown up in the last 18 months or so.
Right. So you only began sort of the manufacturing in the last 18 months or so. So, I mean, how did this, because just listening to what you're saying, you say you started since in the COVID lockdown, so a little sort of over 3 years ago now. You talked about having sort of shops in the area of Perth and also selling on Etsy. It almost sounds to me almost like a small, I don't know, home business. I mean, is that a bit of an insult to say that? Obviously, you have a listing on the exchange there, so you obviously, you're not that small, and you're going for growth. But just listening to that, I mean, was it from humble beginnings and then it's rapid growth, or what's the story?
No, it's actually a good analogy, that, and it is from humble beginnings. Voyager is my second CBD company. I previously ran a business called Zoetic International, but it has since changed names and is now called Chill Brands. And I was the chief executive of that company up until round about the beginning of lockdown. So I think I left in about April 2020. And very candidly, when I started Voyager, it was, a hobby would be the wrong word, but it was a small business. It was me and a laptop and a dining room table. And I'd enjoyed my time at Zoetic, and I enjoyed my experience in the industry. And lockdown was a strange time when none of us really quite knew what was going to happen next. And my initial idea with Voyager was, well, if I start a small business, I'll import products from the US, I'll label and brand them in the UK and sell them online, and that'll just keep my hand in. And that state of mind probably lasted for about 6 weeks when other investors approached me, people I knew from the US approached me and said, look, if you're doing something in the UK, we'd be interested in getting involved. And so, me and the dining room table became me in an office and a member of staff, over the first 3 months. We then actually went crowdfunding. So before the Aquis experience, we raised money on Cedars. We did a couple of private raises. And by June of 2021, we had sort of completed our Aquis IPO. We had a second and a bigger office and more team, and more members of the team, a sales function, a manufacturing capability was just beginning. And we've grown from there. So you're right. Like every business, we started small, and I suppose every business begins with one person on a laptop, and then it develops from there.
Indeed, it does. It's just unusual, I think, to be on the exchange so quickly. But I can see there that your market cap is 1.5 million. So that is a very small market cap for a listed entity. So that does reflect, I think, the earliness of the business, but also, of course, the potential opportunity here. So, of course, talking on the potential opportunities, you say you've acquired a manufacturing site. So you have this vertically integrated idea, don't you? So just take us through really the unique selling point, if you like, of Voyager Life, and also the strategy for growth.
Sure. So when Voyager began, and we were a very, very small business with me and not very many other people, we were reliant on quite a lot of outsourcing. So we rely on other manufacturing partners. But very quickly, really into the first few months of Voyager's existence, we began developing our own products. We'd rely on a third party to make them, the same way as we rely on third parties to print labels and cartons. But the idea was to create a bespoke selection of products, but also to try and cut out the middleman. And so through my former connections in the US, when I've been working for Zoetic, we were able to deal directly with suppliers of CBD and also manufacturers of CBD products. And that idea expanded into the UK. Around about a year after Voyager began, we bought for £9,000 the business and assets of a company called Cannabis that was local to us, but had recently gone out of business. It was rather like going to a garage sale, actually. The business had closed down. We bought everything that was in the premises, and we stripped it out, and that became the beginning of our laboratory and our manufacturing capability. So the unique selling point with Voyager is we make the products ourselves. Very often we go to a trade fair and we present ourselves as manufacturers, and prospective customers will say, so, do you make the products? And I'll say, no, of course we do. And they say, but no, really, who actually makes them? I say, well, we make them. And we've had customers come to see us in Perth, largely because they probably doubt that we're actually the manufacturer. And it's maybe a feature of the industry where a lot of people claim that this is their product and they made it, but actually behind them there's a third party that is putting the products together and putting them in bottles. We literally do everything ourselves. It means that we can be in total control over what goes into the bottle, how it's made. We've got total control over the quality. But also, and this matters, I think, in the current cost of living debate, we've got total control over the pricing. I mean, yes, we buy in raw materials from other people, but we don't have to buy raw materials that we don't want. We're not dependent on, again, middlemen taking margins at every step in the way. We're going straight to source and buying raw materials. So the cost of our manufacturing is considerably less, I would say, than other competitors, meaning that we can be competitive on our own brand, and maybe more importantly, competitive on selling products to third parties for their own labelling and branding purposes.
Okay. And is this where, in your presentation, where you say Voyager has the ability to reset industry pricing, is that really where that stems from, the fact that you've got everything is made by yourselves? You're not reliant on anyone else?
Literally, I think there's an expectation of a customer, someone walking down the high street, going into Boots or Holland & Barrett to buy a CBD product. There's an expectation this is an expensive product. And it is expensive. It costs more to make a CBD product than a vitamin C product. But if I say a typical CBD oil in the UK might be 30 or 40 pounds, and that would be consistent with our pricing to an extent. We're probably slightly less than that, but typically customers might be paying sort of around about that price point for a CBD product. The actual cost of making it, and we've put this in our presentation, we could put together a CBD oil made, barcoded, batch coded, packaged, cartoned for around about £3. I mean, that would be the cost to us. That's not a wholesale price or a retail price. I mean, that is the cost of making it. So for us, there is an ability to, if we chose, go out and make quite a different proposal across the market on the pricing of CBD oils. And we could do that at the cost of some margin, but maybe worse than that, we'd probably do that at the cost of some friends. And going back to what I said a moment ago, a big part of our business is supplying other parts of the CBD industry and other brands. And it's not our style to do things that are going to upset our customer base or upset the industry. But CBD pricing is falling. If it's now 30 to 40 pounds to buy a CBD oil, it was probably 50 to 60 pounds a few years back. So the price is coming down, and with our manufacturing and with our control over raw materials, we've got a lot of insulation in that pricing, which we can pass on to customers, or we can absorb if pricing comes closer to the manufacturing cost. So I don't want anyone to think that tomorrow morning they're going to see a Voyager oil on the market for £4.50 or £10. That's not what we're about to do. But if that happened for whatever reason, because the market moves in that direction, Voyager would be profitable on a per product basis at those price points. If that became a strategy that we followed for whatever reason.
Okay, so you've got a number of products. I mean, how many? Do you have a number of products, like an actual specific number?
Yes. So in terms of products that are branded Voyager or Ascend, we have 72 formulations.
72.
So okay. we have a larger number of formulations across our white label range where we make products for other people. So people do come to us saying, I'd like a massage oil or I'd like a moisturizer, and we can show them ready-made formulas that are our own proprietary formulas, and they can take and amend. They might change the scent or change the CBD content, but across the total range, we'd have in excess of 100 formulations that we would work with, of which 3/4 of them are branded our own brands.
And when you say people, I guess you don't mean individuals. You're talking about maybe small businesses, massage therapies, that kind of thing, who want to offer one of these products to their end users, the individual.
Yes, I mean it could be small or medium-sized businesses.
Cool.
So I'm sorry about the phone in the background. So our minimum order quantity would be 50 products. So we do deal with small hairdressers or small massage parlors. We also deal with much larger customers as well, who'd be ordering in the thousands. But again, because we're making everything bespoke, we can do things at lower levels.
Okay. So in terms of who your customers and who you're going to sell to, you've got the shops that you referred to there, the physical stores. Is it a plan to create more stores, or are you looking to sort of get into wholesale and other outlets? What's the deal here in terms of scaling up on a sales point of view?
Well, a little bit of all of that. There is no aspiration to make Voyager Holland a Barrett. I don't want people to think that in a few years' time, every town and city is going to have a Voyager store. Yeah, a mature Voyager chain of stores might be 12 or 15 across the country. The idea is to create an information centre for plant-based health and wellness, for CBD, not to take on Holland Barrett, not to take on Boots. So I think we will expand the store portfolio over time. But in the last year, the part of the business that's really been motoring is the manufacturing side. And that's what's taken our time and resource. I mean, takes my focus, and also the company's investment. So I think in the near term, you'll see more of Voyager by supplying wholesalers or supplying direct to retail. We already supply some quite well-known retailers, in our own brand as well as in other brands. But the main expansion is going to be making products for other people. CBD or hemp is a consumer product. It requires advertising, it requires shelf edge appeal, and that costs money. And you mentioned our market cap earlier. We're unashamedly a small company, and often it's a joke. I'm stereotypically Scottish, and I don't like spending too much money. And so the idea of having a huge marketing campaign for one of our products sounds great in principle, but it will be a tough one to sell and a tough one to generate a return from. Whereas bigger companies with a bigger marketing budget still require products to be made. And so we think a better avenue for us is make someone else's products. They can hire Claudia Winkleman or Anthony Joshua or other famous people to bring their products to people's attention. And we'll quite happily sit in the background and manufacture for them.
Okay, well, that sets out the plan. And in terms of manufacturing, then, you said it's been the biggest focus and obviously where you're going to focus your time. What's the situation with ramping that up? I mean, do you have, first of all, the ability to do that, the funds to do that, etc.?
We do. I mean, a lot of people, when they come to our facility, their sort of two surprises are, first of all, we have a facility. So there are manufacturers in this country who actually don't manufacture. But secondly, they're surprised at the size of it. I mean, the products we make are quite small. We could put 3,000 products on a pallet, for example. So what we don't have is sort of acres and acres of space, lots of people in white coats and sort of conveyor belts of bottles going backwards and forwards. It's a relatively modest premises with some automatic or some semi-automatic machinery. The near term, I think, would see us expand. We're likely to move office in the next few months, and as part of that move, we will recreate what we've got in manufacturing, but actually perfect some of the arrangements. We will, over a period of time, as any expanding business does, continue to bring in more automation and more capital equipment into the manufacturing side of things. And for that, I mean, think what you see on TV of sort of your bottles going down a conveyor belt and being automatically filled and capped and labelled. More of that gives us more capacity, and more capacity equals more volume. The funding, yes, we've got quite a healthy bank balance at the moment, so we could do the funding ourselves. There's a few Scottish government initiatives that would support small businesses like us making capital investments. It wouldn't be 100% funding. It might be up to about 50% funding. But to give some ideas, a good quality automated bottling and labelling machine would cost less than £100,000. So we're not manufacturing cars here. This is small scale, light manufacturing. So that was the upper end of what we might spend, and there's a little bit of support from the Scottish government or maybe our local council.
Okay.
The actual net outlay for Voyager would be into five figures, but not that far into five figures.
Okay, and that would enable you to achieve. I mean, if you have a goal, let's say, I don't know what timeline you want to talk about, whether you want to talk about the rest of this year, but in terms of an objective or a KPI or a goal, is there anything you'd like to see, whether it be getting that manufacturing facility up and running, getting certain orders and getting new customers? I know you talk a lot about in the presentation breaking into the European market. So it's any key things that you want to achieve personally and from the business's point of view, and of course, give success to shareholders as well.
Well, exactly. It's all about generating success for shareholders and for new investors. I would say we're coming through the point where we're graduating from making products for hairdressers and small health food shops into making products for recognized names. Yeah, and so we're taking Voyager manufactured products, in someone's brand, outside of salons and beauty parlors and into high street stores. That means more volume for us, and hopefully more repeat orders. And in the presentation, we gave a few examples. So we sort of listed them by country rather than by customer name. Like most contract manufacturers, we don't reveal who we make for. But we're given some ideas of the countries where we have significant customers. And I think how the rest of the year or how the next 9 to 12 months looks for us is securing those customers, manufacturing both the first order and also the repeat orders, and getting more repetition into the business where we're working with bigger retailers and they will give us the confidence. In return, we can give shareholders confidence that we can expect regular orders on a monthly, 6-weekly, quarterly basis, whatever works for the retailers. But the contracts that we laid out in the presentation, and we announced this back in May of this year, on an annualized basis, any of those contracts could, in theory, equal our annual revenue, which last year was a little over £300,000. Okay. So the opportunity, and I don't want to, I'm always quite cautious. I don't want people to think, right, those 5 contracts are in the bag, and you can multiply that by 300,000. That's not a prediction we're making. But the prediction we are making is that we're now getting to the table to talk to very substantial customers, both on the branded side and the retail side. The fact that they're coming to us, a little business based in Perth, making what is quite a niche and quite an unusual product. But the fact we're getting to the table and having those conversations, and we're beginning to get the orders, tells us that we're doing something right. We're doing something right on the quality of the product, we're doing something right on the pricing and the packaging. And if we can secure some of those orders, I don't want to let the hairdressers and the massage companies go, but if we can now add on to that some much larger customers, and people can see Voyager made products up and down the country, it completely transforms the business. And with that comes more manufacturing equipment and more staff. But that's the target.
So it's ramping up ultimately. I mean, I noticed from your presentation the timeline, third quarter 2023, you would like to have the manufacturing contracts agreed, and I did note somewhere, it's on the same page actually, the likely development is rapid, assuming larger contracts are secured. And of course, that is the caveat always, of course, until they are signed, then we don't know. But you are fairly confident, are you? And that's the goal really, to ramp up, get the contract signed and get into the bigger names throughout the rest of this year.
It's exactly the plan. And whilst we think the change will be quite rapid from here, a lot of work has gone into that. And to give you an idea, the first of those 5 contracts we've secured, an order was placed just last month. We first started talking to that customer in February 2022. So this is not an overnight success. If a company is going to change their supplier, this is not something they do on a sort of meet them on a Tuesday, sign up on a Wednesday. There's a lot of work goes into to picking your new supplier. The other side of that coin is, of course, once you become that brand supplier, you become, and no pun intended, you become pretty sticky. Unless you make a mistake and do something pretty awful, you're probably going to stick with that brand for quite some time. So a lot of work has gone into sort of positioning us with those bigger customers, and the opportunity is now for us to turn those conversations into orders and then turn those orders into repeat orders.
Indeed. And you said that your revenue last year was what, £300,000?
This is unaudited. Our year end is the 31st of March. And what we have said is that the sort of like-for-like UK revenue for the 12 months to the 31st of March is a little over £300,000. So we'll have our annual report and accounts out hopefully in a few weeks' time. So all the facts and figures will be revealed.
Indeed.
That's the level we're expecting.
And can I ask you what, if you've got a target in mind for next year?
We haven't publicised any particular target. I guess the number I've come back to is, on an annualised basis, any one of those contracts listed in the presentation could match last year's revenue. Now, customers don't say, right, put me down for £300,000 of product next week. They'll order £25,000 of product per month, or maybe £10,000 of product, and it'll ramp up over the course of the year. So there is an acceleration period. But I think if we can secure these contracts, if you were to ask me that same question in 5 or 6 months, I'll be able to give you much more predictability. Working with a big customer gives you the ability to say, actually, if they do reorder on a pattern, it's every 6 weeks or it's every quarter. The smaller customers, the health food stores, we talk about hairdressers, that tends to be a bit more hand to mouth, and that becomes slightly harder to predict. But the bigger orders do become a lot more predictable, and that then will help us demonstrate to investors this is what the future looks like. And we've always been very open about our cost base and what's required to keep the business going. So it should enable us in the next few months to start to give investors the building blocks to put together some forecasts and some financial analysis.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to demonstrating that, as you say, to the market over the next few months of the course of the rest of this year. But thank you very much for your time for the moment. Nick Tulloch, the CEO of Voyager Life.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.